War is terrible, and it seems like humanity keeps on forgetting and forgetting how bad it is until another one comes up. And that is definitely the case for when Russia deliberately attacked Ukraine. Now, this war has been going on for 6 weeks, and I haven't talked about it really at all on the channel, but there's some big news for World of Tanks and Wargaming that I thought I would talk about today because it has to do with the war and the company leaving Russia for, at least for good right now, which is some pretty big news. Talking a little bit about the war and my stance on it, I will never be okay with what is going on. If you watch the news, it's been about 6 weeks now since Russia has started its initial invasion, and not only have they bombed every city on the front of where their invasion is to literal rubble like this is back in World War II, but as well, now they're just shooting people on the streets, civilians. In fact, they have now proof that Russia is just tying civilians up and shooting them in the head. This is some of the biggest war crimes that have been committed back since the Nazis were a thing. And the saddest part about this is that the Ukrainians are actually scared to clean up their dead civilians' bodies because they're worried that Russians have planted landmines on top of them so that they might blow up and they might not even be able to bury them. So I wanted to get out of the way in the beginning of this video. I do not stand with what Russia is doing, and hopefully none of you do as well. None of this is okay. There are war crimes being committed from the use of thermobaric weapons, landmines, cluster bombs. It is one of the saddest things in the 21st century. And yeah, this is just something that I will never, ever be okay with. Slava Ukraine. With that aside, we're going to be breaking into two major topics in today's video. First of all, what Wargaming has done for Kyiv in the war and donations, but as well, we are also going to be breaking into Wargaming leaving Russia. This is not clickbait, this is actual truth from their own Facebook. I'll be reading to you in just a moment. But first of all, let's start off with what they have done for Kyiv. I'm going to read the statement as this is from Wargaming directly themselves. Wargaming has issued the following statement regarding Kyiv, base studio, and assistance to those impacted by the conflict in Ukraine. Dear industry colleagues, we've been receiving many requests from our players and partners regarding our Wargaming Kyiv employees. Here is the update. At Wargaming, the safety and security of our employees is the top priority. Currently, all of the available company resources are helping and supporting our 550 plus colleagues, providing them with alternate housings, early salary payments, additional funds, and aids to travel and relocation. We are helping our employees' families to travel to neighboring countries and organizing accommodations for them. And lastly, today Wargaming Kyiv is donating $1 million to the Ukrainian Red Cross. These funds will be used to support Ukrainian hospitals and doctors, those citizens who have been displaced, and other vital activities of the humanitarian organization is as needed. We will be able to proceed with further humanitarian help if the situation requires. End quote. Now, these are from Wargaming themselves. I posted this a month ago, and to be honest, it was pretty nice that Wargaming did this, especially because they pointed out that their stance was not with Russia and that they support Ukraine on this situation. That's why I posted it on my channel. I'm very happy that Wargaming made this statement a month ago, as it made me feel much better playing this game and lifted a bit off my conscience. But now we're going to be making our way over to the most important part of today's video, and we're going to talk about this after. I'm just going to read it, and then we'll talk about it. Wargaming announces the decision to leave Russia and Belarus. Over the past weeks, Wargaming has been conducting a strategic review of business operations worldwide. The company has decided it will not own or operate any businesses in Russia and Belarus. It will leave both countries. Effective March 31st, the company transferred its live games businesses in Russia and Belarus to local management of Lesta Studio that is no longer affiliated with Wargaming. The company will not profit from this process either today or going forward. Much to the contrary, we expect to suffer from substantial losses as a direct result of this decision. We will be completing the operational transition with all due speed while remaining in full compliance with all laws and ensuring the ongoing safety and support of our employees. During the transition period, the live products will remain available in Russia and Belarus and will be operated by the new owner. Wargaming has also started the process of closing its studio in Minsk and Belarus. We will be providing as much severance and support as possible to our employees affected by the change. Despite the magnitude of this decision, we as a company are confident in the future of our business and are committed to delivering quality games to our players. That is from Wargaming themselves, so this is not faked or anything. It's from Wargaming official. That is some big news. Basically, their largest server, the Russian server, is no longer going to be part of Wargaming. That is huge. Not only are they going to be taking a massive revenue cut, but it was definitely the right decision in my personal opinion. I guess and reason to why Wargaming is doing this is down to the fact that they probably don't think many Russian players are going to be spending much money on the game. As we know from the war and the massive sanctions put on Russia and probably Belarus in the future, that the ruble is dropping to all-time lows, which is not great because that means that people that would spend money on the game normally now have to use that money on food and actually living their lives day to day. Especially as these sanctions are going to hit harder and harder on Belarus and as well Russia, the Wargaming company is probably going to be hit quite hard by these sanctions if they decide to stay. So there's probably a lot of financial decisions that went into the decision to leave Russia and Belarus. But as I said, I fully support them. Now, if you're on the Russian server and you're wondering, well, how the heck am I going to play the game? Good news for you is that you are still going to be able to play the game. It's just going to be run by a different company. So it'll be just like how the NetEase is run in China, where the same things are going to be sold and everything else in between. Now, these aren't the only things that Wargaming is doing in, should I say, relation to their latest decisions, because not to mention are they leaving, but they've also fired one of their massive creative directors who's been with the game for many years since its original beginning due to his stance on the war. And as well, Wargaming is removing all of the Russian flags to, I think, their tanks in the game. They've already removed the USSR flag from the new Object 752. They've removed the Sputnik logo that was on it, and the camo was going to be called Sputnik, and now it's called Star Chaser. So Wargaming is doing some massive changes to their game, and I don't know. I guess we'll see what the future of Blitz has to hold. Either way, this was something that needed to be talked about on the channel because this is a big change, a massive change that needs to be talked about. So, if you're playing on any server, I would not worry about the game dying, and obviously we will know what happens in the future of this game. But I do appreciate what Wargaming is doing here, and I accept their decision to leave, because this was a massive decision. Not only do they probably have to relocate a lot of their employees, but yeah, I mean, this is some pretty huge stuff, something that I never, ever thought I would see coming out of Wargaming. So good on them, especially because they're going to be taking a massive revenue cut. We can't really call them a stingy company anymore, can we? That sucks. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. And if you'd like to see more like this in the future, more on the news and updates as much as I can give you, please let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully, if any of you are living in Ukraine or you have family in Ukraine, they have gotten out safely and that they managed to survive and prosper. But apart from that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.